Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're going to take a look at making some interesting lighting effects with the new Streamplify GLOW LIGHT 14. Keep watching to find out how. Okay, so in today's video we're going to take a look at the Streamplify GLOW LIGHT 14. This is a new product from our good friends over at Streamplify and has been sent to us free of charge for review purposes by overclockers.co.uk, which is one of the main suppliers of the Streamplify brand here in the United Kingdom. There will be links in the video description, so if you want to pick it up you can do. There's also other suppliers globally which will have this in stock, so check out your local pricing. At the moment here in the UK this is retailing for somewhere in the region of £79.99. Exactly, kind of thing, and is at the moment pretty much the Elgato Key light killer. The Key light is retailing for somewhere in the region of about £130, so if you are considering getting a relatively small but extremely powerful key light or just an additional light to increase your setup lighting quality, then this might be the choice for you. It actually has almost double the lumen output of the Elgato Key light, so potentially you're going to get a lot more for a lot less. So with all that said, let's get on with the unboxing and see what it's all about. Okay, so back to our regular studio lighting. So currently we are lighting the Mike's Unboxing Studio with two softbox lights, both of which are generating somewhere in the region of about 80 watts each, I believe. And they do give off a very nice soft glow. Something like this is more suited to indirectional lighting. Now, when I say that, what I mean is you don't necessarily want this panel facing directly at your face because it's a little bit on the harsh side because it is extremely bright. You can, of course, change the lighting as well. There are various different levels of lighting that you can change with the remote control or the touchscreen, which is on the back. There are actually 20 individual lighting profiles in terms of brightness, and an additional 30 when it comes to the actual temperature of the light. So you can change the temperature between 3000 and 6000 kelvins. So if you want a particularly warm light, then somewhere in the 3000, 3500 is pretty much what normal incandescent bulbs are in a home for normal home lighting, which tend to look a little bit orange or yellowy on camera. Whereas normally when you're filming with a camera and you want to make it look nice and clean and clear, generally you want to be looking at somewhere around about 5000 kelvins or possibly higher. If you want to go slightly more into the bluer spectrum, then anywhere up to 6000. If all of that sounds a little bit complicated for you, don't worry, because there is a button on the remote control where you can choose between 4 preset options, which we'll show you a little bit later on in the video. But for now, let's take a look at the actual box and what we get inside. So obviously you can see what it is. It's the GLOW LIGHT 14 from Streamplify, and some of the key features is the ultra thin profile, and the light is very thin, so if desktop real estate is somewhat at a premium, or you just simply don't have the room for a softbox because they do have quite a considerable depth to them, this is actually extremely slimline, and even if your desk is right up against a wall, you can mount it behind there very easily and still have room to maneuver. The power output of this is rated at 2500 lumens, which is an incredibly bright output, and again, the Elgato Key light, you'd be looking at somewhere around about the, I don't know, 1400 lumens at best. So this is considerably brighter. So if you're thinking of the Elgatos and potentially thinking, well, I might need 2 of them to get enough light power, this could actually do the same as 2 potentially, obviously depending on your lighting style. I'll flip the box around so you can take a look at the specifications on the back, give you a close-up of that. Obviously if you want to read those in more depth, then please feel free to pause the video, but essentially it's pretty much what I've said already. So now let's take a look and see what we actually get inside the box. So let's start off with the instructions. So there's a little instruction pamphlet telling you exactly how to use it, how to control it, etc. Very straightforward. There is this mounting bracket or mounting arm which will attach to your desk. So this will be able to go onto surfaces, desks, whatever, up to 68mm. So there's a whole range of adjustment on there. And one of the things I noticed straight away when I pulled this out of the packaging is this thing is super solid. It's very solid metal, very nice construction, and yeah, the construction quality is absolutely excellent. If you want this at its lowest point, so with this mounted on the desk up to this point here, you're looking around about 40 centimeters or 400mm, and you can of course extend that up higher, up to a maximum of 1.7 meters, including the head itself. And these are done very nicely on this section here. And actually I should show you on the top, there is also a 1/4 inch thread mount, so if you wanted to actually mount something else on there, you can do. You don't necessarily have to use this with this light. You can use other options, but this is included, so it's probably a nice way of doing it. And you've got these really nice friction clamps, so you just open those up and you can extend the pole, lock it into position, and if that isn't high enough, then you can open the second one up and extend it again. So can potentially be extremely high up, or depending however you want to do it, or have it just so it's kind of peaking above your monitor if it's behind a monitor kind of facing either up or down. So yeah, excellent, like that a lot. It's a very strong clamp and is very flexible. Also included is a power lead. Now obviously depending when you buy this or where you buy this, you'll get the plug appropriate for your region, and it has a right angle connector on the back, again space saving, so the cable goes in the back, which you'll see a little bit later, and the cable can come straight down. For those that are wondering if you're going to need an extension of this, because potentially you might not have a lighting socket or a outlet, this is a 3-meter cable. Next up is the handy remote control. Now this is actually going to be really good for streamers and YouTube creators, all those kinds of things. So quite often when you're sat in front of a camera, like I am here talking to the camera, you look at your lighting and you're thinking, well, that's not quite right, so you have to stand up, go over, change it, etc. So this is really handy. Got a remote control, so you can turn the light on or off. So if you want to, you can just leave it on permanently, and when you're ready to start filming, just hit the power button and it will turn on. You've also got up, down, left, right, which will control either your brightness or your color temperature. And directly in the middle, there is the preset button, which will cycle through the 4 preset colors, which we'll take a look at later. For those wondering, this is powered by 2 AAA batteries. Those are sadly not included. And last but not least is the actual light panel itself. So as you can see, it has a diffuse section on the front there to diffuse the lighting, so it's not quite as harsh as it would normally be. You can't see any of the LEDs, of which there are 210 of them behind this plastic panel. And for those of you that are wondering, does this get hot? I can say no, it doesn't. We actually did a live stream where we went through this in a little bit more depth and kept it on, tried out some lighting styles, and throughout the entire process, basically it doesn't get any warmth to it whatsoever. It does remain extremely cool. So if you're concerned about lighting, dumping extra heat into your already warm studio setting, then rest assured this is going to be absolutely fine. So in case the documentation and the packaging doesn't give it away, this is a 14-inch across, so that's 36 centimeters, I believe, thereabouts, and it is circular as well, so it doesn't take up so much room rather than one of those rectangular panels. In terms of adjustment, so you've got 2 thumb screw type things there, so you can have adjustment of the head up or down. So potentially you might want to have down lighting to obviously light up a particular subject, maybe a motherboard, some characters, something you're trying to do an unboxing of, that sort of thing. Or if you actually just want to use it as a more diffuse light, add light to an existing setup, then you can have it indirectional and have it pointed up and still have that down, or maybe have it off to a side or bouncing off a wall, that kind of thing. And at the bottom you've also got the thumb screw there, so you've got some rotation actually on the stand. On the back we've got some actually quite interesting, quite handy features as well. So if you're the person who is doing basically you're just sat in front of the camera and you've actually got someone helping you out doing the lighting, then they can access the controls on the back there. So these are touch sensitive, so up and down for brightness across those various levels, and the same for your color temperature. And you've also got your on-off switch, so you can know when it's on or off. So if you are leaving this plugged in, you've got your cables done nicely, you do have a physical on-off switch to save a little bit of standby power. Other than that, I think the construction is really nice. It is plastic, but it does seem pretty strong, doesn't have any real flex to it, despite the fact it is extremely thin. So I think the best thing to do now is get this set up and we'll look at some of the lighting profiles. Okay, so we've got everything set up and I've got my light just over there. Currently got it in a more directional facing mode, so this is with the light panel facing towards me, and we'll go through and see what it looks like. So turn it on straight away, so press the power button there, and there you go, you get your extra lighting. Now we've got the studio lights on as well. The thing I found with this is I think it adds a more airy feel to it. So depending on what you're trying to actually achieve in your shots, if you're trying to make your studio setting look a little bit brighter, a little bit more airy, lighter, less kind of shadows, etc., then potentially this might be the way forward for you. And I think it actually does work very well. That is on, I believe, currently 100% at the 6,000 kelvins. So turn that back off, and there you can see, there is a very significant difference. If you keep an eye on the sections around the back, you can see it does add a lot more brightness. Now clearly your camera is going to want to get used to it, so if you've got your camera set to auto ISO, auto white balance, etc., it may take a few moments for the camera to actually recognize the new settings. Of course, if you want to, you can dial in your camera, set your camera to a specific white balance, maybe 5300 kelvins, and then set your light to 5300 kelvins, then you know you've got the perfect white balance every single time, which is going to be really useful. You can of course use things like grey cards to set it up, but for most people I think who are streaming or doing sort of relatively modest studio experiences for YouTube, then yeah, I think doing that is probably the easiest way. So that is with direct lighting. Let's go through some of the color options. So these are the presets. So that is the basically the summertime one, a very orangey glow. So that's going to be around about 3000 kelvins and 100% brightness. The next one is the very cool white. So again, the white balance is going to take a little while to kind of register. I can see the camera settings changing, so this may take a little while. This is an extremely cold, bright Arctic white. Again, 100% brightness, 6000 kelvins, and you can see the color is actually starting to change now, settle down. Again, if you set your camera up properly, then you won't need to wait. And the next one is a little bit dimmer, so that is going to be, again, a slightly warmer light, around about 4500. And then you've got a dimmer one. Actually, I quite like this one. So this is around about 5500 kelvins at somewhere in the region of about 20% brightness. So it does add a lot. And actually, if I press the off button, you can see the difference it makes there. It is actually pretty huge. Now, obviously, the camera will try and compensate now and open up the aperture to let more light in. And if we press the button again, it looks a little bit blown out to start with. But wait for the camera to kind of settle down and it will look absolutely fine, because the cameras are designed to do that these days. So that is the options with more direct lighting, which may work for you. Again, if you're showing off products, or maybe you've got something which you need to highlight specifically. The only thing is, because it doesn't have like a softbox, even though the light is diffused, you are going to still get some hot spots. And actually I can see one just in the top of the case there. You see a little bit of a reflection of the light. Because it isn't diffused with a softbox, it isn't really intended for directional lighting. So let's flip it around now and we'll take a look at some indirectional lighting. And actually, before we do that, we'll do something else. We'll just use this light on its own. So we'll turn off all the studio lighting altogether. There might be a little bit of sunlight coming in from other rooms in the house because the door is open, etc. But I'll give you an idea of what this can achieve actually on its own. So now you can see what the lighting would be like. We've got the blinds down to limit some of the sunlight coming in directly. All we've got is the lighting from monitors, etc. So that is all that is lighting this up. So clearly the camera, the aperture is opening right up now to let as much light in as possible to get some detail. So I'm going to turn the light back on now. And immediately it's going to be a little bit blown out. But you can see the difference it's making already. Just with that single light, this is currently in the directional facing. So it's facing kind of down towards me, more so towards the table. And it's probably going to be reflecting some of that white light, which may or may not be suitable for some people. But again, down to the individual. So we'll go through the color options. So that is the bright kind of orangey sunlight. And then you've got the Arctic white again, so it's going to add a lot of blue to it. The camera is going to have to get kind of used to it and adjust the settings. I should mention as well, this has a color rendering index of 90, which isn't the highest. Ideally, you would like a color rendering index to be as close to 100 as physically possible to get the most detail. But I think, again, for the money, you're getting a really good... Actually, looking at what I can see on the screen there, the colours in the Superman light there, the blues, the reds and the yellows actually look like they should do. Quite often with video cameras, the reds generally go a little bit sort of orangey, but I think this has worked out really well. And there is the warmer setting, and then down to 20%. So again, the camera is going to get used to this and eventually it will settle down, and this probably could work for you. So if you want to save as much electricity as possible and only have one light source, then yeah, this is going to be absolutely fine, I think. So I think that's worked out, worked out pretty well. Let's flip the light around and we'll have it so it's bouncing off the ceiling, and you can see what that's going to look like. Okay, so there we're back, and now basically all the lights are off again. We've now just got the light panel shining upwards, but it isn't actually turned on. So this is just the camera trying to make the best of a bad lighting situation. So let's turn that back on. And that is still in the orangey mode. So let's go back into the maximum brightness. So now that is with the 6000 kelvins, 100% brightness, aimed up at the ceiling. And again, it gives that really nice airy feeling. So kind of everything around this periphery here is nicely illuminated. So again, depending on what it is you're doing, you may or may not like that. You may want to kind of dim out or hide some of the background stuff so you can focus on what's going on in front. Again, depending on your particular setups. Let's go through the lighting profiles. So there is the more orangey white. Again, probably not for everyone. I'm not entirely sure why they include that. I guess for some kind of accent lighting, it will probably work out okay. And then we're going back down to the same lighting, but very dim. And then the full brightness on the orange. That's horrendous. I quite like this with the white. I think this actually works out quite nice. Again, potentially saving you money. Rather than having two kind of 60 to 80 watt light bulbs going, if you've got soft boxes, you can use this 40 watts at maximum. So if you dial in your settings, lower the lighting, then potentially that might be better. So now let's put the studio lights on as well, and you can see what the difference is like with that. So there we are, this is back to normal now. So this is just our two regular softbox lights, which we have always had there, well, pretty much always had there. And we've now got the light facing upwards just to bounce off, just to give a little bit of more illumination. So let's hit that. And yeah, the difference is actually pretty dramatic. Consider it's only 40 watts. That is what really gets me with this. It is very, very low energy usage for the actual light output you're getting. And yeah, I like this. I like the airy kind of feeling around there. It just feels lighter, and actually the room feels lighter. It actually feels easier to work in as well. So if we change that to, there's that kind of orangey glow to it, which again might suit some people. So that is in the kind of 4500 kelvins at 20% brightness, and it still does make a little bit of difference. If I turn it off, you can see it just gives you that little extra kick, especially around the outside edges. So yeah, you can see there is a definite difference. And certain things like the shadows in my hand, so there's going to be a shadow there. Yeah, so that is one of those things, is certain areas when you're filming, the shadows are the things you want to try and avoid, so you want to try and get as much light as possible on your subjects. So next one, that's the bright orange. Yeah, I'm still not entirely sure about that one. And there's back to the bright white. I can't even say it. There is back to the bright white at 6000 kelvins. This I really like. It feels really nice and airy. And again, the difference, yeah, it does make a big difference. It really does. You can see there's some shadowing going on behind the monitor there, and obviously at the back of the PC as well. So hit the light, yeah, it just lightens things up a little bit and adds a little bit more detail to the shot. Anyway, I'm probably boring you all to tears with this, although saying that, if you are interested in video lighting and want to up your game a little bit, but you don't want to spend an absolute fortune, I think this is actually well worth it. For $79.99, again, it's roughly not quite half price, but almost half the price of the Elgato Key light and the Key light Airs, those sort of things, which normally retail for about $130 and don't give out half as much light. Well, they do actually, just slightly over half as much, but not very much. This is certainly, I feel, the better option. And of course, you don't have to worry about having the Elgato app on your phone or anything like that, or on your PC. You just got your handy remote control. So when you're done, just hit the button and that's it. You are done. So thank you very much to Streamplify, and also massive shout out to overclockers.co.uk for sending this over to us for review purposes. Very much appreciated. I'm pretty confident that is going to stay basically where it is. I'm going to keep on using that because it does make a difference for the lighting, and also it does give me the other options. So when I'm filming things like motherboards or close-ups and things, and I just need to get that extra lighting in to show up like motherboard pins and headers, that sort of stuff, this is going to be absolutely great and save me having to do other kinds of weird things like attaching lights to the top of the camera, which is always a pain in the backside. So anyway, let me know what you think about this one in the comments section. I'm super pleased with it, but your thoughts are very important to us, so let us know in the comments section. But for now, I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.